Hi, this is Matt Price. I am sitting at Cafe Apropos in the neighborhood of Harrison West in Columbus, Ohio. Uh, Chuck asked me to do a kind of a brief overview of a definition of culture. About 50 years ago, a couple of anthropologists attempted to identify all the definitions of culture that had been made up to that time in the area of anthropology. Uh, Within the first 50 years, about 1890 to 1940, there were over 500 definitions made for what culture is. Here is another definition to add to that. It's my basic definition. I'll slide this over so you can see it a little bit better. It's basically culture is a way of life of a particular group passed down from generation to generation through an adaptive array of symbols, behaviors, practices, and values. And as a Christian, I would add this to the definition, so that human beings can create and flourish in a world from the raw materials God has provided. What I'd like to do now is just kind of walk through this definition, and I'll let you to think about some of these aspects of the definition a little bit more. The first, what I'd like you to do is pause it if you want, and for about 30 seconds, just brainstorm what some North American ways of life might be. And the question I would ask is, what would you tell or show a visitor from a foreign country about your local context that would help them experience, what America is all about? Take a few minutes and do that. Now, when you come back, what we're doing is we're trying to move from an etic to emic perspectives. An etic perspective is someone who is an outsider, and an emic perspective is someone who is on the inside, embedded within the context. And so as we try to understand a way of life, it's better if we're inside. Sorry about that. That was a brief interruption from one of the workers here at the cafe. Let's look at the second half of the definition, a way of life of a particular group. In order to do this, we're going to borrow from Dwayne Elmer, who encourages us, as we look at trying to become a servant within another culture, that we need to learn about people. Now, one way we do that is to just read up on them, find the best and most valuable sources on that location. Sometimes there are business books written about different cultures. Those may not be the best. Sometimes websites or travel websites are not, they're a good start, but they're not the best. So we have to find the best sources. Sometimes we don't know what those best sources are until we actually get there. I found the best sources on West Africa when I moved to West Africa after going to West Africa and talking to others who had lived there for a period of time. Also, it's not just learning about them, we also have to learn with them. So we have to find a gatekeeper, a trusted individual who is from this place, who understands this place, and that we can learn from directly, that we can bring our questions to. Which brings up the next point, to be a kid again. We're a newcomer. We don't know. There's things that we just have to learn. And so we need to ask those questions. And the other way is, and we do this by how we communicate, the languages that we offer, the way we speak, not just with our mouth or the words that we use, but really with our attitude, with our actions, with how we walk down the street, how people view us and view the way we carry ourselves. In fact, there's a lot to be said to say that the one true universal gesture that is understood pretty much around the world is the smile. A smile goes a long way. I know that we learned that a lot when we were outside the United States, our home context. Also, learn the rhythms of the place and the people. For me, it was hard to get used to that midday siesta rest period. I wanted to keep working. I wanted to be busy, and I needed to learn that in some of the cultures I've lived in order to be productive, not just busy, meant to take a 1 or 2 hour rest in the middle of the day, which was usually the hottest, most difficult part of the day. Here's the third aspect of the definition. A way of life that is, I already forgot my other part, way of life of a particular group that is passed down from generation to generation. In other words, we need to adapt to the culture. We need to be able to learn from it. We're not just going to put it on. We can't just swap out a shirt or wear the clothes of a different culture and suddenly be accepted. No, there's really a kind of a negative effect of going native. We cannot be undercover. We cannot pretend that we're on the inside by the way we look or even by saying a few words in a particular phrase. We need to become self-aware and understand that it takes multiple generations to finally grasp what a culture is all about. And so we're not going to be experts. We're always going to be learning. And to take this posture means we take a posture of humility, that we will not know everything and that we will always find a gap that we are missing in understanding the new culture. The last aspect is a culture is a way of life that is, I always forget that second part, of a particular group of people that is passed down from generation to generation through an adaptive array, and I use that phrase very particularly, an adaptive array, a cultural antenna, which I'll come up with in a second. And that antenna, that array, includes symbols, behaviors, practices, and values. So I always talk about having my antenna up when I'm in a new culture. I'm always looking around, I'm always listening, I'm always taking it, I'm always learning, I'm always watching what's going on around me. I'm always asking myself, how does this work? Why does this happen in this particular way? Why do the people walk in a certain way? Why do they interact? I watch what they do and how they their gestures. One of the interesting ones was how you greet someone in the not the southern part along the coast, but a little further north in the Sahel. After you shake someone's hand, you walk up to them and you touch your chest, and that is, you're kind of bringing that person into your heart. And it was a very powerful symbol. And as I watched that happen, I would begin doing it myself, and I would notice a little smile on the other person as they saw me repeating and recognizing what was valuable and important in their culture, and I was showing them through their culture that they were valuable and important to me. But sometimes we don't always get those things, and I always talk about being in this cross-cultural fog, a haze of a new culture. And sometimes when you're in a new place, you're in a new context, or you're in a place that's unfamiliar, you can be overwhelmed by input overload, and that can be very tiring, which makes those naps very valuable. I remember talking to or hearing about a couple that had been in a particular country for about 30 years, and they were that longevity is pretty astounding in that context. And I said, why were they able to do that? How come they were able to stay there that long? And someone said it was because they took 2-hour naps every single day. And there is something to be said about that. Also, nothing is ever what it seems. That goes into that cultural fog. And we need to just remember that as we go into another culture, that we will not always know what's going on. It takes time. We need to be able to pay attention, as we're reminded by Frederick Buechner, to pay attention to what's going on around us. To pay attention in French, to attendre, means to wait, to strategically wait and try to discern what's going on before acting or doing something. And then also we need to take care of ourselves. Sometimes we can be overwhelmed by the needs around us, and that self-care is necessary, or we'll cut short our time engaging in another culture. Finally, that aspect that is, I think, particularly Christian, so that human beings can create and flourish in the place God has put us and created around us. All of us, human beings, are to take care of and tend to God's garden, the place that He has put us, and that we are creating culture. We're cultivating each other, cultivating the environment around us. Shamar is the word that is used there, to take care. Usually we say to have dominion. That's a bad translation. It's to take care of, to watch over, to protect, to guide, to be a guardian of all that God has provided for. Psalm 121 actually uses that same word, and it uses that word of Yahweh's presence in our own lives, and we are to be that presence in the world that we live in, because God has been here, and He's always been here first. So His prevenient grace has gone before us, and then we can follow Him into this new culture as His gracious presence. And the way I like to define it is His sacramental presence, to be broken and poured out in this place that He's put us. I hope this helps you understand a little bit about what culture is. It's a way of life of a particular group that is passed down from generation to generation through an adaptive array of symbols, behaviors, and practices and values, so that human beings can create and flourish in the midst of God's creation. Thank you.